In today's video, I'm going to teach you the most important price action skill you can ever learn in trading. So enjoy today's video. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing a number of videos going over the most common mistakes traders make when trading the Mogwai reversal strategy. Now, I'm fully aware that when you watch my videos, you see all of my success, you see my members' success, and I know I make it easy. Well, I make it look easy sometimes, just taking arrows with the trend, Mogwai reversal alerts, etc. But we also have a lot of members that struggle as well, right? Now, I'm unique in the way I teach people to trade because I don't like to teach people based on opinion or my view or my thought process. I like to look at where the majority of traders go wrong and teach people from that, because I have had, well, every single week I have a lot of one-on-one webinars with members, right? So I know from a whole where the majority of traders go wrong. I can see the trends where most people go wrong in their trading, and it's not based on opinion, it's based on facts, right? I could tell you right now, just without me even knowing you, where you're going wrong. The first two are either going to be trend trading, right? You know, you're struggling with the price action perspective, and the other one's going to be structure. And I don't mean structure as in looking at the charts, you know, and marking up structure. I mean the stuff outside of trading, right? What's the best currency pairs? You know, having a set of rules that you can confidently trade. What lot size am I using? What's my stop loss and take profit? How many trades am I taking today? What's the best time frame to use? What's the best broker, etc. It's the little things like that when you go on the charts, you actually you self-destruct, right? You start doubting yourself and you need that reassurance, right? And I know I'm right, aren't I? You fall into one of those two categories, right? And then within that, you have psychology as well. You're not disciplined, you know, you lack patience. But again, discipline and patience comes from a lack of structure because you're not confident in the setups, right? You would only chase trades if you're not confident that you could pick a winning trade. Because if you were confident you could pick a winning trade, right, you'd be more disciplined and patient, right? But what you end up doing is you get a loss, you get frustrated, and you start chasing trades where, you know, for me, if I get a loss, I move on, right? It's like, it's okay, the next trade's going to win. It's confidence, and it's, you know, having the ability to say, I know what I'm doing and I'm confident on the charts. And like I said, right, you fall in one of those categories. But where the majority of traders go wrong is confirming a trend with the Mogwai reversal, right? Now, this is the most important part of price action training you will ever learn. Fact. And listen to when I say this. I promise you from the bottom of my heart, if you don't learn this or you don't watch my videos, you will be back here again. I promise you. I studied psychology. I know where most traders go wrong. Why? Because what is the opposite of trend trading? Counter trend trading, right? And if you can't confirm a trend, there is a big problem. I've had a lot of traders in the past study SMC. They've come to me and they said, Jamie, I'm struggling. Can you help me? And I do the basics first to get an understanding of where they are with their learning. And I say, right, look at this chart. Is this an uptrend or downtrend? And they don't know. They're not sure. They're not confident. How can you run if you can't walk? How can you confirm a trend if, you know, how can you learn SMC if first you can't confirm a trend? That makes a huge difference, right? Because confirming a trend is the most single-handedly important part of trading. Why? Because when we are confirming a trend, it is happening. That is what is actually happening at the time. It is not speculating. So let's jump on the charts, right? And I'll show you exactly what I mean and why you have to. The reason why I am so successful from the BD strategy, the Mogwai strategy, the Mogwai reversal is because I am confident I can confirm a trend. And this is what I'm going to show you and teach you in today's video. So the market is only ever going to move three ways, right? Downtrend, uptrend, or sideways trend. That is it, right? Downtrend, uptrend, and sideways consolidation range. And within that, you will have different strategies, you know, breakout range, Fibonacci levels, trend trading, counter trend trading, support and resistance, Fibonacci level, I just said that, fair value gaps, order blocks, all of it will fall in one of these three categories. It's either trend trading, counter trend, or consolidation range sort of strategy, right? Now, if you cannot comfortably say that that is an uptrend, there's the problem, because the opposite of that is a counter trend, which is a downtrend. Now, this is why this is a problem, right? When you were to look at a chart like this here, right, as you can see, if we look at the chart right here, this is a downtrend. Now, that's fact. That is actually what is happening. It's not speculating. It's not guessing. That is actually what is happening, right? That's fact. And if you can't see that, there's an issue, right? Because the opposite of that is marking up levels like this here, so support and resistance levels. But again, you know, you can make money trading support and resistance, which again I'll cover as well. But when you mark up levels like this here, so most people on YouTube will tend to mark levels, right? Structure levels, support and resistance levels, institutional levels, I don't know, whatever levels you want to call these levels, right? The point is as price goes into this level here, that is an uptrend, right? That's not speculating, that's fact. It is going up. As you can see right now, price is going up. I could tell you right now, we are going to get a pullback. I already know that, because when you have an uptrend, guess what? You have a pullback. Fact, okay? When you have levels like this here, right? In fact, look, right? Watch price pull back in a minute, right? When you have levels like this here and you say to yourself, when price bounces off this level here, right, I'm going to take a sell. Well, that's speculating. What you are basically saying is at this level, sellers are going to come into play and start pushing price down. Well, that's speculating. That is saying that I believe at this level, sellers will come into play and sell the price down. Well, that's speculating. Like I said, right, that is the opposite of what is actually happening now, right? Like I said, you see how we're starting to pull back, right? That is actually what is happening right now. And what we'll probably do is we'll do that. We'll come down, we'll go up. We might chop around for a bit. We'll come up to this resistance. You might sell from it and price will continue into an uptrend. So you can see why trading with the trend is the most important part. If you can't do it, there's a big issue, right? Because the opposite is counter trend trading, right? And that's even worse, because you're trading against the momentum. You're trading against everybody else. It is like saying, I hope everybody's going to sell from this level. I hope that price is going to reject from that level. You know, a big eye-opener for me, or a big, massive, you know, step in my learning was being able to rewire my brain to think, right, okay, instead of selling from there, why don't I just buy to it? Why don't I just do that, right? Why don't I just buy to it? And this is a big problem traders make when trading the Mogwai reversal, right? So let me show you a valid setup that I have took. By the way, I just want to show you some of the results from the members, right? As you can see here, BTC, let's go. Let me just show you, because I was reading some levels here. That's a nice trade with the trend. But look at this one, right? You see how this guy has took a trade like this here. See how you got the second pullback? So you got the structure, second pullback. That's a beautiful trade. Absolutely beautiful. I wonder if I can find you one more. There's another one there. There is another one there. That's one there, second pullback, beautiful, right? There's another one there. Let me explain to you why this is so important, and then how we're going to incorporate it with the buy and destroyer, and I'll show you where most of the traders go wrong, okay? So when price is coming up like this here, okay, and you get a pullback in the market, ask myself here, is that a pullback in the market? I don't know. In fact, let me just go back to it. Let me just go back to that 10 seconds on EURUSD, and hopefully we can do this live. Yeah, there's my pullback here, right? You see my pullback just there? Right, so we'll do this like this here. So you can watch this live as it trends up, pulls back, trends up, right? So with most currency pairs, you have an uptrend and then price will pull back. Now we need to ask ourselves like this here, is that a trend? And the simple answer is no, it's not. It's not a trend, right? It's nothing. Okay, now this is speculating. This whole area here is speculating. So if we look at this here, right, just this bit here, this is speculating. Okay, this is saying this is an uptrend, that's a pullback. Now I won't know that's a pullback until it does that. Then, only then, do we have a higher high, higher low, and a higher high. This is a trend. That's fact, right? Trends do that. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Anything beyond that is speculating, right? Because what could easily happen is it could do that. Right? It could come all the way back down and you'll be like, oh, I'm buying there, I'm buying there, I'm buying there. But this is just a move up. That's all it is, right? It's just a random move up like most currency pairs, right? They'll go up and down like this here all the time, right? You need to, first of all, confirm a trend. This is why when I trade the Mogwai reversal strategy, I will take the second pullback. I will always take the second pullback, right? As you see, you got the pullback here. Let me find you a setup. In fact, let me find you a setup on the 1 hour charts and you will see where most people go wrong, right? In fact, I'm just going to use the 1 hour charts because I wonder if I can find you a setup here. Okay, it was GJ. Let me find you one on GJ about a month ago, and this was a beautiful trade. It's a very good example. Here we go here, right? Here we go here, right? Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Right, I'm just going to pop this like this here. In fact, there's another one just there as well, right? In fact, we'll use this one on the left here, right? Because this one looks a little bit more simpler to show you, okay? So as you can see here, right? So let me just do this from the, let's just do this from the beginning, right? I'm going to do this from the absolute beginning, right? Okay, you ready? Right, I'm going to get rid of these levels there. I'm going to get rid of that. 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 I'm going to show you the absolute basic where everyone's going wrong, right? Because when you are trading a Mogwai reversal strategy, it is a trend trading strategy. So if the price is not trending, there is a big problem, right? It's like trading a support and resistance strategy without support and resistance. It's not going to work. It's like trading smart money concepts without smart traders. It's not going to work. Right? It's like trading, you know, Mogwai reversal. If price isn't trending, it's not going to work. You have to confirm the trend. So as price like this comes down, right? So at the minute, we're not going to touch it. Now we have to ask ourselves right now, okay, this is now a range. As you can see here, this is now, you're going to learn the difference between a range, counter trend, and trend. As you can see here, this is just a range. Okay? That's all it is that is a range. It's going up and down above the EMA. You can see that, can't you, right? It's above the EMA, below the EMA, above the EMA, below the EMA. Now, we've just broken that to the downside. Does this mean that this is a downtrend? No, right? It's speculating. It could be a liquidity grab, right? It could be taking traders out and then go up, or it could be stopping people out, whatever, right? We don't know. It's all speculating. We just sit and wait. Right? Now prices come down like this here. Does this mean that this is now a downtrend? Again, no, it doesn't. Because what is a downtrend? A downtrend is downtrend, pullback, downtrend. Lower high, lower low, lower low. That is a downtrend. You need a lower low, you need a lower high, you need a lower low and a lower high. You need all of it, right? At the minute, yes, you've got a lower low, but where's the lower high? You can't count that there because this was a range, okay? So uptrend, downtrend, range. You can't use price action from a range into an uptrend. Right? So all of this here is irrelevant, right? That was a different market cycle. We are now in a downtrend. Okay, well, not in a downtrend. We're potentially going into a downtrend, right? It's not only until we actually hold on. Hold on here. We actually do this. Where am I going to get my pullback here? Bang, there is my alert appearing here. Bang, okay? It's not only until I get this alert here that now we actually have a confirmed trend, right? So as you can see here, if I just put this like this here, now can you actually see we have a downtrend, we have a pullback, we have a downtrend, we have a pullback. Can you see that? So we have our lower low and lower high. Now, I cannot tell you how important this is. If you cannot look at this right here and say that this is a downtrend, that is a problem, right? So when I took this trade, it was an absolute beautiful trade. I had my stop loss out of the way. You get the idea, right? The trade was a beautiful trade. Look at it, right? It confirmed the trend. Now, I'm just going to pause it here, right? I'm just going to pause it here, and we're going to see if we can spot the next time it goes into an uptrend. Okay, ask yourself your question right this here. Is this a downtrend still? No, it's not. This is potentially not a downtrend no more. Why is it not a downtrend no more? Let's follow price, okay? So price comes down, it pulls back, it comes down, it pulls back, it comes down, it pulls back, okay? So a sell would be from this level there, wouldn't it, right? As you can see, you always mark up the previous low and high. So uptrend, pull back, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, you get the idea, right? Higher highs and higher lows. In this example here, we don't actually no longer have a lower high. We have an equal high. You see how we've just created an equal high to the top here? If I just put this like this here, can you see how that high has now broken that low? Now, does this mean that this is going into an uptrend? We don't know. Does this mean that it's going to continue into a downtrend? We don't know. This is where we sit and wait. It's not speculating, it's not guessing, and this is where most traders go wrong. Because most traders will be like, I'm going to sell here because there's perhaps liquidity there and it's going to come down. It might do that, but that's speculating. That's just you fabricating that in your mind that you are saying that there's liquidity there. There could be liquidity there, but there's also perhaps liquidity here as well where everybody bought it. Right, so you don't know. Like I said, you don't know. We just want to sit and wait for the trend. Was I right or was I wrong? Okay. Okay, so there you go. It looks like it's going into an uptrend maybe, right? Now, here we go here. Here's a good example. Now, is this an uptrend? Okay, so you had here an uptrend perhaps. So now like this here, you've had an uptrend. You've had a pullback. You've had an uptrend. No, that is wrong. That is wrong. The reason being is, I won't go into too much detail here, but Mogwai reversal strategy rules state that you have to mark higher highs and higher lows above the EMA, right? So here, okay, we have a higher high. Here, we have a higher low, but that is below the EMA. So that is invalid. That is invalid, right? It's not part of the rules, okay? So for Mogwai reversal rule, we have to be above the EMA. So everything has to be above the EMA. So if I just pause it there, right? Can you see here, we now have a higher low, okay? I'm just going to mark it here. We now have, I'm just going to put it just slightly there. This is going to be interesting, right? Can you see here how we now have a higher high, which it is a higher high. There's nothing higher than from there. And we now have a higher low, which again there's nothing higher than from it. And we have a higher high. There we go there. So now we have the start of an uptrend. That is all it is. That is all it is, right? I'll get me a little signal like there. You see how price rejects it. It creates a higher high. Bang, I took that setup. Now, I also took another setup as well, right? Because you'll notice, you see how I marked that level there as a second pullback, right? Now, I actually, like I said, you could take that trade here, but I also took the third pullback, which is just there as well, right? So like I said, I'm not going to go over the basic rules, but you get the idea, right? You get the idea. Uptrend, pullback, uptrend, pullback, uptrend, pullback. And what happens? Price goes flying up. That is it. Like, that is it. That's confirming a trend. This is the most biggest mistakes where traders make. And I want to show you a common mistake right now where a lot of traders go wrong. And you're going to understand this, you know, if you've made this mistake trading this strategy, right? So let me find you a setup, right, where most traders go wrong. Okay, I found a setup. Now, unfortunately, this setup won, so it kind of contradicts what I said, right? But this is a very good example, right? So this is where a lot of traders go wrong. Again, it's very simple. Like I said at the very start, if you cannot understand this, this is going to be a big problem with your trading, right? So as you can see here, price has come down, it's pulled back, it's come down, it's created the second pullback. As you can see, that trade won. Right? Now, everything that you do in trading has to be based on fact, right? So that has to be a lower low, and that has to be a lower high, and that has to be a lower low, and that has to be a lower high. You can't just make stuff up. You can't say that is if it's not, right? Now, that is actually not a lower high just there, okay? Or lower low. And the reason being is because if I look left like this here, we have an area of structure like this here. So what we actually have here is a range. You see that? Right? And like I said before, is you can't mark lower highs and lower lows in a range, right? Because it's a range, okay? You only want to confirm a trend once you get a breakout of that range for obvious reasons, okay? Because a breakout of a range is then a trend, okay? You can't mark lower highs and lower lows in a consolidation area because it's not creating lower highs and lower lows, right? So when you look at this here, right, and you go, oh, look, Jamie, price has come down, created a lower low, lower high, lower low. That is not a lower high, a lower low, sorry. What is that a lower low to? What is it lower than? Because if I remember correctly, if I'm looking at the charts, that's not lower than anything else. It's not lower than there. Okay, so that is not a lower low, and that makes a big importance, right? Because a lot of traders, when they're trading, is they'll do like this. They'll go like this, right? They'll be like this. So price goes up like this here. It creates a higher low, does that, and then they go, hold on here, let me do that like that there, and then they go like this here. And they're like, oh, look, Jamie, look, I've got a higher high, I've got a new high, I've got a higher low. If that is a higher low, or higher high, sorry, if that is a higher high, what is that higher than? Because if you look at it here, that is not higher than anything. It's not even higher than that. It's lower than that, right? So you could look at that and say, well, that is a lower high, right? This is my point here, is all of it is a mind game. It's speculating, right? It's like some of you lot will call that a lower high, and some of you lot will call that a higher high. This is my point. If you can't look at a chart and say, that is a trend, that is making higher highs. Let's look at one currency pair right now. I don't know, GP CAD, right? 1 minute chart. Let's just see what price is doing, right? So let's have a look. Okay, what is price doing? It's going sideways. We've got consolidation, right? You've got resistance at the top there. Okay, you've got support at the bottom. That is it. Not interested. Move on, next trade, right? Let's look at USD/JPY. Okay, USD/JPY. Beautiful sell, right? Beautiful sell. Okay, so as you can see here, we have a downtrend like that there, and we have another second pullback just there. See the difference? Downtrend, pullback, downtrend, pullback, and everything has to be what it says it is. That has to be a lower high, that has to be a lower low, that has to be a lower low, that has to be a lower high. Everything about that is a trend. Okay, can you see the difference now? Is that you can see that quite easily now, that is a downtrend, and that's all you need to do. You just need to sit there, dropped hard. What's this here? Bitcoin, yeah, some sales on Bitcoin. USD/JPY, this guy took the trade. Yes, this guy. You speak sense. BTC, who else? Mate, you are, oh man, this guy here, that's what I'm saying. If you just spend the time learning it, you get rewarded for it. So like I said, that is a common problem where people go wrong. If I can give you the only advice and the best advice is sit and learn to confirm a trend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Don't use any indicators to use that. Don't use any other, because I see people, what they like to do is add stuff in like here. You see where it says here, higher high, higher low, like that's just going to mess your head up. Even looking at this here, would I consider this, if I zoom in here, would I consider that the first or second? Well, again, just look at it in a very basic, simple way, right? We have an uptrend. That's not a higher high because it's an equal high. So it's only until we actually perhaps come to like here, then we come down like that there. But even then, I wouldn't say that is a higher high because it's equal high. So none about this setup I would actually take. There's nothing here that I would take, because you can't call that. That's definitely not a higher high. Why is that called a higher high? What's it a higher high to? Because that's an equal high if you ask me. All of this has been like, that's just mess. I'm not interested. I would just move on, because you can't confirm it. And if you can't confirm it, then you're not confident and you won't be able to build up the confidence. So I hope you enjoyed that quick mini session. My name is Jamie Palmer, and thank you for watching.